how I worked with Wesley, I got the job with Wesley. We were at one of the Cal States there, and I had roaming security, where I roam around the building. Any hot spot, we would handle that. I get a call to go outside because they got gang members out there. They want to come in and hear the minister, but they don't want to pay. So I went and checked, and they said, "You can let me in. If they want to hear the minister, you can let me in." He said, "But get an understanding with them. There will be no mess when they come in." So I go out, and there's a big argument going on. So I said, "Excuse me, brother." I said, "Can you and I step to the side and you and I talk?" And he used some choice words, So we went over. Wesley was sitting in the truck, and I didn't know he was in the truck or anything. And right away, when I walked up to the brother, and I said, "Brother, let me tell you a few things about going into this building." And the brother said, "We're not going to fight, are we?" And I said, "Oh, no, sir." I said, "I'm not here to fight you, brother." I said, "We love you." The hell, you're a soldier, brother. You just got to be taught who to fight. And so we're standing there talking, and I get an understanding with him and say, "Now, you're in charge of these men." I said, "Anything go wrong in there, we're not going after them. Guess what we're coming after? We're coming after you." He said, "Oh, no, I'm going to control them, brother. I'm going to control them." So Wesley heard me say that. And when he came inside, he asked about who the guy was outside talking, because he liked the way I dealt with the gang members. And he asked who it was. And he said, "Oh, that's Steve Sanders." At the time, it was Steve Sanders. And he said, "Is that the guy that do karate?" And the guy said, yeah, that's the karate guy." He said, "Can you introduce me to him?" So some guy came outside and got me and said, "Wesley Snipes." Well, I didn't know who Wesley Snipes was at the time, because he had just done, what was the first one he did? I don't know, but I didn't know him at the time. So when I went in to see him, he asked me, he said, "You ever think about doing bodyguard work?" I said, "No, I hadn't really thought about it." He says, "I'm looking for a bodyguard." He said, "You think you're interested in it?" I said, "Yeah, I'm interested in it." He said, "My people will be getting in touch with you. What's your number?" So 3 months had passed, and my phone rang in the evening. I answered the phone. They said, "You ready to go to Florida?" or something like that. I said, "Who is this?" She says, oh. She says, "I represent Wesley Snipes, and he wants you to work for him." I'm thinking, where am I going to work for him? I said, "Well, you got to go to Florida, and we want you there within the next 3 days." I said, I'm thinking, I said, "I can't leave my family and go to Florida." So I said, "Can I call you back?" And she said, "Oh, yes, sir, but call me back today because we have to know." So I hung the phone up, and I called Brother Sharif and some of the other brothers, and none of us knew who Wesley Snipes was, until finally it was somebody at the mosque heard them talking. He said, "Yeah, Wesley Snipes, a movie star." He said, "Who knows Wesley Snipes?" And they called me back on the phone and said, "Yeah, this dude now, he's an upcoming movie star. He's now making $1 billion a movie," or something like that. He said, he wants you to work for him?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, go." So I told him that I would go. Now, I haven't negotiated a contract or nothing with him. On a piece of paper that I went over to the office, it said on that paper, it said to give this to Steve Sanders. And on that paper it said, "You don't have to worry. I'm going to take good care of you, Steve, if you become my bodyguard." So I took that to heart. I said, "Okay." So I went down there, And when I got down there, you have to go through the production office. And the production office said that, and at that time, they said, we're going to pay you $1,300 a week. So I said, yeah, well, I'll take that $1,300. That was a lot of money to me. So I said, yes, I'll take that. So I went and met Wesley, his assistant. She hands me a check for $700. I got 2 checks in my hand with $2,000. And Wesley looked at me and said, what you have in your hand is what you make a week. I jumped straight up in the air. I'm making $2,000 cash a week now. Then he says, did they give you your per diem? I said, no, because I didn't know what per diem was at the time. And I said, no. He says, go back and get per diem. That was $500. Now I got in my hand right now $2,500. That's what I made a week, every week.
Yes, sir.
I'm making. Man, I couldn't wait to get on the phone to call my little wife. I told her we rich, you know, we weren't rich, but I told her we rich. He said, well, how much you gonna be sending home every week? I told her $2,000. Plus, I was gonna send a couple of $100 from, so I'm sending about $1,200 home. And I would say after working with Wesley for about close to a year, he said, Brother Steve, you never asked for a raise. He said, you don't believe in raise? I said, yes, sir, brother. I said, well, I'm making money now. He said, well, brother, I tell you what I want to do. He said, after I give you this raise now, you may not get another raise from me for a long, long, long time. I said, yes, sir, because I can handle $2,500. He matched what the production company was supposed to give me, which was $2,000. I'm making $4,500 a week. That's what I was making before we went to jail. That's what I was making. Now, did he take care of me? So he took care of me. Brother, when I'd be gone, I'd come back to my room sometime. I'd be so bothered by not being able to see my family or see my wife. And I'd come home and open the door, and my wife and my family would be sitting there. I didn't know he had even sent her. He would send her something like $10,000. This is for me. And for you letting your husband protect you. He took very good care of me.
Yes, sir.
Put money down on this house for me. So he took it. He was a good one. So he took very good care of me. And in return, I took care of him. I let nobody touch him. I let nobody do things to him that was happening to him, like getting drunk. I stopped all that. A lot of people angry with me. If you want to do that, let him go home. Do it in this house, but not in the street. Want to do that? No. And we sit down one day because Wesley said, "Oh, Steve, I'm your boss. So I tell you to do something, you tell me no. I'm a Muslim.
That's right.
I don't do those things." He said, "Well, sit down and tell me what you will do."
That's up.
So we sit down and had a conversation. He said, "I can handle that. I like that. That's good." So he never asked me to do anything that I wasn't supposed to do.
That's right.
As a Muslim. That's right. He gave me permission that any time that he was getting out of line, I had a right to stop him and remove him from that situation. And I did that. And one day, he came and he said, "Did you beat me up?" I said, "No, I didn't beat you up." He had to tell me.
That's up.
He felt like he danced on the floor. He was a good dancer, so he danced a lot. Anything I've said negative about him, please don't deal with that, because he was never negative.
Yes,
he was
sir.
always positive.
Yes, sir.
Black Belt TV, Mr. Snipes, alias Blade, the hottest martial artist in the world.
Oh man,
Tell
I don't know about all that.
I have some bad teachers.
Tell us about your studying, your Sifus and your grandmasters. I know that Grandmaster Muhammad, you and him are great. Steve Muhammad, great. You had worked with him for a while.
He's actually taught me the mathematical system of fighting, and I think that lends itself to how Blade approaches his fight scenes. He fights mathematically, size them up and cause reactions that cause devastation. Ends the job quickly.